So a lot of builds in the Division 2 have one source of amplified damage, some but fewer may even have two. But this absolute unit of a build has three sources of amp damage, all running at the same time, and more importantly than that, the build is fun. Once the loop starts, it never stops. What's good everyone, Ragnar here and welcome to my channel where I do the math so you don't have to. Deep dives on build theory, gear optimization, and the stuff that actually matters, because when you're built different, you hit different. Now let's get it going. Today we're breaking down my Ongoing Directive Bleed LMG build, and the reason this one caught my eye is the damage architecture. This build stacks three separate amplified damage multipliers simultaneously on top of a total weapon damage multiplier. This is not something you see often and the numbers reflect that. And a quick note before we get into it, everything you're seeing right now is solo Escalation Tier 2, so it's not the highest by any means, but Tier 2 is where I can actually turn my brain off and farm comfortably. I've got the NBA play-ups up on the other monitor, so I'm big chillin'. I don't have to be locked in. Tier 3 I can get through, but it's a lot slower and a lot more sitting around. I'm around shade level 500, and with my current progression, this is what's easiest and most time effective for me. Tier 3 has an estimated 0.05% increased drop rate over Tier 2, and takes me an additional 10 minutes to complete. So in my opinion, it's not worth it for where I'm at. But anyways, when I first started running and testing this build, I had zero expertise on anything, but I've had so much fun with it, tweaking it, stress testing it, and watching the numbers, that I actually went and put expertise on the LMG, which is a big deal for me. I've been stacking resources frugally, and this is only the third piece that I've actually put expertise on next to the capacitor and the St. Elmo's. That's how much I believe in this build. It's sitting at level 12 of 30 right now, so everything you're looking at still has a lot of headroom left in it. Now I want to be upfront about something else. Is this the greatest solo escalation build ever? Probably not. If you're pushing the highest tier solo where the meta is full red and you burn through enemies as fast as you can while relying on positioning, in that context Vigilance on the backpack is probably going to slide in better than Wicked. The high tier escalation playstyle keeps you out of the line of fire as much as possible, and the game has a built-in mechanic that drops you to 1 HP rather than outright killing you, which forces you back into cover. So theoretically, by the time that you re-engage, Vigilance has had time to reset itself and you're back to full damage. So that loop actually rewards that disciplined kind of playstyle. I'm running Wicked because the uptime in general in context is better and it felt more thematic for the build. And honestly, it's just more fun to me. For Escalation specifically, Vigilance is probably the smarter call. Where this build truly shines though is in a group. Every kill drops hollow points for your entire party, half a mag each. So your teammates are running their own build, and this build is feeding them bonus amplified damage on top of what they're already doing. That's a support layer that most DPS builds don't have. And in a group running Escalation, this thing is excellent. And even outside of Escalation, that's actually where this build truly shines and has become my main build. Open world, retaliations, and daily content, this is what I'm running. The loop is smooth, the damage is real, and once you get going, you just hold the trigger. But before we get into all that, let's check out some of the stats. Now let me walk you how this build actually functions because the loop is everything. Step 1, trigger a status effect. On this build we're running the gunner spec with the Banshee pulse, which makes this effortless. One pulse and you're off to the races. Step 2, kill one status affected enemy. That's all it takes. The Ongoing Directive 4 piece drops a full mag of hollow point ammo into your weapon. Step 3, hollow points apply a bleed on every hit. Every kill refreshes your hollow points, every hollow point kill reapplies the bleed. So now the loop is infinite, you just hold the trigger. So now let's check out what the loop is actually doing to our damage number. Let me show you what this looks like at the firing range so you can see exactly where we get every number. Cold, no buffs, no loop, no status effects. Body shot non-crit, we're expecting 144,278. That's our baseline. The weapon card reads 128,820, but the LMG's built-in 12% damage to targets out of cover is what pushes that to 144,000, which is most of what you're shooting at in this game. Now let's get this thing going and activate the loop. 4 things are now running simultaneously. First, we have Wicked from the Česká backpack that's giving us 18% total weapon damage. That's its own separate bracket multiplying off our baseline. And second, we have Parabellum Rounds from the Ongoing Directive chest. This is the 4-point talent amplified from 20% up to 50%, and it's amplified damage. Third, we have Sadist, which is on our LMG, that's giving us 30% amplified damage to targets that are bleeding. Fourth, we have Pressure Point on our second LMG, which is copied to the first via the Tinkerer mask, which is giving us 15% more amplified damage. That's 4 separate multipliers all stacking on top of each other, so let's run the numbers. So starting from the true base of the military MK46, which is 56,414 damage. Add the full additive pool, which is going to be our LMG damage roll, 6 red cores, my shade watch, and expertise level 12, that's plus 127%. That's what gets us up to the 128,820 that we see on the weapon card. Then DTOC adds 12%, which gets us the 144,278, which we confirmed. Now the loop, we have Wicked, which is going to multiply by 1.18, which gives us an extra 170k. Parabellum, which we're going to do another 1.5, which is going to give us an additional 255k. And then Sadist on top of that, so we're going to go by 1.3, which is going to give us an additional 331k. Lastly, but not leastly, we've got Pressure Point, which is going to give us 1.15, which is going to give us 381k. And that's going to be body shot, non-crit. Now for crit. We have 60% crit chance with 120.8% crit damage. So that's going to make our effective crit damage 72.48%. All right, that's the average increase we're expecting per bullet. However, on the actual crit itself, right, so the actual expected value from a crit is going to be times 2.208, which is what's going to give us 842,969. And here's the part I want to be clear about before anything else. From the true base of 56k that we talked to earlier to that final number, that's a total of 15 times multiplied over, which is plus 1,394% total weapon damage increase from the base. So that's what those 4 stack brackets are doing. It's not a typo in the thumbnail. So let's see if the range agrees. 842,950. Our calc gave us 842,969. So that's a delta of 19 damage, which is less than a percentage point. So that could be attributed to a rounding across multiple calculation brackets, and it's completely expected. As Mercer Tomei might say, we're still dead on balls accurate. Now, you'll occasionally see the 563k proc instead of the 842. That's not a bug, that's just kind of the partial loop state. It means that Wicked and Parabellum are active, but the Sadist and Pressure Points haven't refreshed yet on that shot. So once the full loop kicks right back in, you're gonna shoot right back up to 842k. It happens, just keep shooting. Just another quick note as we look at some more gameplay. Like I said, I'm flying through tier 2s, efficient runs, consistent prototype drops, well, consistent enough as I'm still climbing my expertise ranks. Like I said earlier, this is only one weapon with level 12 out of 30 expertise, and I'm shade level 534. This isn't maxed out and it's still doing this. Now, a word about escalation farming in general. I wouldn't recommend grinding escalations at this particular time before your max expertise. Your time's better off spending getting your gear fully optimized first. The only reason I'm in here is because I like to stress test the builds with some of the harder content that the game has to offer. Until they buff the prototype drops, which is going to be supposedly this next update, I definitely wouldn't recommend farming prototype for the drops themselves. But if you are ready, or you just want to build that tears through hard content until you get there, this is it. And here's what that effort looks like. Prototype pieces dropping from tier 2s, tier 3s, some tier 4s, but not on this build, so I can't exactly co-sign to that. But when the drops get a little better, this build might be able to do more efficient farming in a group setting. Here's the full setup. Tinker Exotic, this is what allows us to get Pressure Point from the second LMG and copy it onto the primary. Without this piece, the triple amp stack doesn't exist. Then we have our chests, this is the Ongoing Directive with the Parabellum Rounds. This is mandatory because this is going to let us take our hollow point amp from 20% to 50%. Next, we have the backpack, which is one piece Česká running Wicked. It's always active once the loop is running. It gives us an additional 18% total weapon damage after you inflict a status effect, which we're constantly doing. However, like I said earlier, if you're going to be pushing higher tier escalations seriously, I'd swap this for Vigilance for better uptime. The gloves, holster, knee pads are all going to be Ongoing Directive. It completes our 4-piece. And then the primary LMG, I'm running the military MK46 with the Sadist talent, which gives us 30% amplified damage to bleed, as well as the secondary LMG is going to just give us the Pressure Point talent, which is going to give us another 15%. So again, this is where the Tinker is putting in a lot of work. For the spec, I'm running the Gunner spec so that we can get the Banshee Pulse, and that's what we can start the loop with. It also gives us some armor on kill for a little bit of sustain. And as I said before, my crit profile, I'm running 60% crit hit chance as well as 120.8% crit hit damage, which is giving us 72.48% effective crit damage increase. Everything is red cores, it's a pure DPS build, no armor stacking needed. The Gunner armor on kill and the sheer speed at which the build kills things is the survivability. But as always, if this video helped you in any way, do me a favor, like, subscribe, or leave me a comment. It actually goes a long way in helping me bring you more of the stuff that actually matters, because remember, when you're built different, you hit different.